So welcome to Business Profit Acceleration Group Coaching. And I think this coaching is really about quality of life. So these are just some pictures showing me having fun, doing various things, even being a model when I was young and had hair. And yeah, it's about being honest, open, vulnerable, life, business, work-life balance. It's really about making dreams come true. Oh, look at that. I caught somebody and admitted them. Great. Dennis is here. So this is all about you guys. I've been a business coach for 15 years, but as I was mentioning earlier, I learn stuff every day, and I'm so excited about me supporting you guys, but also us all supporting each other. Welcome, Corinne. Welcome, Venice. Thanks for being on.
Hey, how are you?
Good.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
What was that, Venice?
I said it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
It is a beautiful day in the neighborhood. And speaking of
is in yours.
Speaking of beautiful, isn't this an amazing car? So this is a concept car. Why did I put an image of a concept car with really cool wing doors and a spoiler?
Come on, Jim. This is your dream car.
It might be. I just found it yesterday. And the tip of the day is test marketing. And we've all heard, like, the automotive industry, that's why I put a car on here. One time about 15 years ago, I got paid $100 by Chevy to go into this warehouse and look at concept cars and fill out forms and give them feedback. What did I like? What did I not like? What did I think was cool? You know, they had a list of, it wasn't exhaustive, but maybe 15 to 20 questions. And that's something that is going to be related to our topic today of target market. But times change. I don't know if anything's changed in your lives in the last few months, but I've had a couple of changes. I think it's a perfect time in 2020, COVID-19, to be reminded that there really is no security. And related to marketing and whether it's focus groups or surveys, there's several important points on this topic. The first point is that things change and we want to stay on top of our market. We don't want to be like those video companies that didn't catch the wave of online videos and they died like dinosaurs. And this can happen to all of us. And it's not that we can't keep our same business, but our target market might change. We might have to change our offerings. We might change our messaging so that our marketing remains effective. And the cool thing about this is one of the safest and most comfortable ways for us to get the word out there about our businesses. So I like just a simple introduction. Hey, Mrs. Jones, I really admire this about you, or I admire this about your business. And I'm approaching you because I respect your opinion. Would you be willing to give me 5, 10, 15 minutes of your time just to answer 3 or 4 questions? So then either you can do it at that point, or you can set up a quick meeting, 15-minute meeting. And sometimes the meeting can go longer, but getting the meeting is the first step, kind of like sales. You want to make an appointment. And the less obligation people feel, the more likely they are to help you out. And this information is really, really critical. You notice in the intro how I started positive? Hello, Mrs. Johnson. I really respect and admire this about you. Or, hello, Brett. I just respect how your brain works, your logic, your attention to detail. Would you have 5, 10 minutes to answer a few questions for me? I'm thinking of it. I'm just committed to improving and building out my business and helping more people. Would you be willing to do that, Brett? So that's just an example. So start positive. And when you start positive, the other thing I mean by that, it goes with the intro, but it also goes with your questions. If you don't know somebody super well, which of course those are great people to talk to because they can get to know you, you can get to know them through this process. But you want to start positive. You don't want to start out with, what keeps you up at night? What's your problem? You want to start on a positive note. And so what's going well? What do you really, I know you're an entrepreneur. We're all entrepreneurs. It takes a lot to be a successful entrepreneur. What are you most proud of with your business? So start your line of questioning with that. And then get into, what's the biggest challenge you're facing today in your business? What are some of your fears or concerns? What keeps you up at night? So those are all questions on problems or challenges that you can help them fix. And then on the other side of that coin is the dream side, the positive side. If you could wave a magic wand and create anything in your business for your business, what would you create? How would your business be? How much time would you work? What are some of your goals for 2020 and beyond? So it's really simple, but it's something that I believe we should be doing ongoingly. And if you're starting a new business or writing a book or offering new products or services, that's always a good time to reach out. And you can ask questions like, how else can I help you? What else could I offer that would help you related to my business? Any questions on the tip of the day? Awesome. All right. I know you guys are anxious to move on. So the ideal target market, we have this cartoon over here, and the caption is, "Oh, that's a bummer of a birthmark, Hal." So speaking of targets, ideal target market. Now, why is this so important? You guys have heard me rail on and on about how important this is, and I'm sure you've heard other marketing experts say the same thing. Well, if you use the 80-20 rule, if you take the whole population, like let's say you do a radio ad or TV ad or post something on a billboard, those are spray and pray marketing techniques or tactics. They're also very expensive. So you might get a lot of exposure, but you're going to get very little return. If you narrow down your target market to maximum 20% of the population, then you're going to get at least 5-fold return on investment. And it really behooves us, and I'll try to give many examples of why it's even better to narrow it down to 3 to 5% of the population. That's still a lot of people. Even where Simone lives with 1 million people, 5% of 1 million is a pretty good amount of customers. What is that, Brett? 50,000 customers? Sorry to put you on the spot.
Let's see. Out of 1 million, well,
I think that's right.
1% would be 10,000 people still.
Well, there we go. 50,000 customers. Would that do it for you, Simone?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, great. So the biggest mistake that people make when they're defining their target market, or one of them anyway, is FOMO, fear of missing out. So your ideal target market is who you're targeting. It's not everybody that you serve or that you can serve or that you can help. The idea is narrow it down as much as possible, define it as clearly as possible so that when you present your opportunity through your marketing, through your networking, your outreach, and make it easy for people to find you, you have the right message. They know you're speaking to them, and they convert massively. Welcome, Stacy.
Hello. Sorry I'm
morning.
late.
No worries. Glad to have you here. I'm just thinking if there's anything else I want to cover. So related to the test marketing and those questions, the real principle, and if you're taking notes, write this down with a big star next to it, highlight it, underline it. The principle is find out what your customers want and then offer it to them. I know that sounds very simple, but a lot of times people make products, they write books, they come up with services, and then they try to figure out how to sell it. I think it's much easier to find out what your customers want and then offer it to them. Like, that makes so much sense. All right. Now, I would say we're all familiar with narrowing down the target market and clearly defining it by demographics. Would you guys agree? You know, thumbs up, thumbs down. Anybody? Yeah. So demographically, we look at age, gender, income, marital status. Are they business? Are they individual consumers? Do they have kids? What kind of education do they have? Do they have a job or not? Those are all demographic criteria. And that's pretty common, but that's where most people end. And some people might add geographics if you're serving a local population. So that's really important to keep in mind. Now, the key in my teaching is psychographics. If we want our marketing copy to work, we want our clients, when they land on our webpage or they hear us speak or they see an ad that we have, we want them to think, oh my God, how does this person know me? Or wow, I've landed in the right place. This person has walked a mile in my moccasins. So psychographics, what is psychographics? Psychographics it goes right along with the tip of the day, with the test marketing. It's what's the biggest challenge, frustration, fear, problem that you can help people with? What are they worried about? What keeps them up at night? So what are their thoughts? What are their emotions? And then on the other hand, what do they really want? You know, what have they given up hope on? How can you restore hope that they can really get the life, the business? You know, like in Venice's business, she helps people with stress, anxiety, fears, mental performance. You know, those are all psychographic factors. And then you want to think about, how does it affect their life? In our marketing, we talk about, you know, what results can we help people get? What benefits will they get by getting those results? And then what emotions will they feel? Well, we want to really clearly know what's their before and what's their after emotionally. And in a couple of weeks, we're going to talk about USP, or unique selling proposition, market dominating position. So while you're defining your psychographics, think about, how can you best serve people? How can you make your services or products the best? You know, Brett and I are helping a guy named Jeff, and he helps people invest their money. And, you know, they just wrote a really nice extended page of results and statistics and numbers that really clearly outlay the benefits and the results. And that's a business where there's a lot of competition and there's a lot of scammers and promises. So we want to know before. And psychographics would also include paradigms or beliefs. You know, when I was really leading with business coaching, in my marketing, I had to know in advance that there were a lot of people that came out of industry, didn't have any entrepreneurial experience, tried to sell themselves, and they were pretty expensive as business coaches in this area. And so business coaching had a bad reputation. People didn't trust it. Sometimes they don't understand it. Sometimes their ego gets in the way. So those are all paradigms or points of view. And if I'm not aware of that, then I can't overcome their objections beforehand. So see how psychographics makes a huge difference? So we talked about the biggest problem or challenge and helping people with their passions or dreams. The other thing that I want to really encourage us all is to think about the past, think about what's possible, what could be achieved. Who do you really want to do business with and why? And I also think it's important to write down, who do you really not want to do business with? We've all had those clients. And when we make our marketing 10 times more effective through this exercise, we get to say no to those people. And we also get to include in our marketing materials, in our messaging, who we're not good for. You know, I'll tell people right up front, you know, if people sign up for a free coaching and then they don't show up, I'll tell them, you know, I don't think this program or I'm the coach for you. I want to coach people that are going to do their homework, they're open-minded, they're willing to get out of their comfort zone, and they're excited and they're ready to go for it. That's my target market. And that's who I work with, because those are the people that get outstanding results. So I'm getting bolder in being able to do that. It's, you know, it's taken me a while to overcome my discomfort with telling people, but if people are flaky, disorganized, or most importantly, governed largely by their ego, then they're not necessarily a good client for me. And the same thing with web design. You know, if people don't get back in a timely manner, a web project can take 4 months. So those aren't great clients for me. So who are not, let's get some examples out there. You can unmute yourselves. Who are some clients that, does anybody know what the acronym PETA stands for? Pain in the butt.
That's a
I know the
polite way
letters
of
don't
saying
match,
it.
but you can fill in the blanks.
All right.
Yeah, so who are some of your headache clients? How would you define them? Don't say names.
For me, it's someone who hasn't won the Consumer Choice Awards, but they want to buy the marketing anyways.
Huh, interesting. Okay. Can you explain a little more about that?
Sure. So in order for me to sell marketing to the Consumer Choice winner, they would have had to win their survey. So if a lawyer wins the survey, I can show them all the different marketing that's available to them. But then sometimes their competition finds out that they've won and they want to do the same marketing, and I can't because they haven't won the survey. They're not true Consumer Choice winners. So sometimes I'll get feedback on that. So it's more of a, sorry, you can't do it, but it's explaining to them why, and like from that aspect.
Okay, that's a great, perfect example. Thank you. And it also brings up the thought of, you know, you're a caring person, you love to help people. So there may be other people that can help them, and you can refer them to those people so that they can win, and then you can get the referral back to you.
Right.
Excellent. Anybody else?
I think for me, in talking to a client who is telling you up front, they're all on board with a holistic approach, However, they're very, very upfront and also letting me know that they've already tried everything, and they've got it down. And it's like, wow, okay, how do I penetrate that? So that's a challenge. And maybe I don't. Maybe it's not meant for me to have them as a client. Maybe they're being polite and saying they want to be a client, but in reality, that's not really what they want. And that's probably the real truth.
Right. And I think that's a fantastic example. So somebody said, I've already tried everything. And that's a paradigm. That's a point of view. It's not the truth, because they have not. None of us has tried everything. We don't have enough lifetime to try everything.
Exactly.
And so that's more of a sales example, excuse me. In one of the keys of sales is dancing with objections. And so that's where the psychographics of your target market, so that some of these people may not be your target market, and you might just not want to attract them. But some of them, you might be able to ask questions in a non-threatening way, like, well, do you know anybody else that has the result that you want? Or is at the level of spirituality or peace or love in their life that I can help you with? And they're like, yeah. Well, how do you think they got there? And so just asking questions to break up that paradigm. And I love the term dancing with objections, because it's not fighting, it's not arguing, but it's just dancing, weaving, flowing. So yeah, thank you for that example, Corinne. And then who are the worst clients? Like, you never want those again.
The ones that feel they already know it, they know everything about marketing or whatever you're talking about, they know it all.
Yeah, that's frustrating. And it's just because they won't receive your help and suggestions and not get results. And that's where we get thrill by helping people. And then the next question, which is really powerful, is who is most likely to purchase your products and services, and why? And I want to start with, so it's a powerful rhetorical question, but it's related. It goes back to the market survey. Wherever we can make the biggest delta. So delta is a Greek symbol for change. So if they're here and we can take them here, the biggest delta, the biggest change that we can make for them, they're going to be the easiest customers to sell to. So I said I would talk about some examples. I think one of the most powerful example, and I use it often, is I had a client in Texas, in Austin, Texas, which is a pretty cool town. And she lived, breathed, ate natural, whole, raw foods. And super healthy. It was fantastic for her. She was passionate about it. And I wanted to help her. She was having trouble getting people to hire her. Whether it was doing cooking or buying her recipe book or doing consulting. She had all kinds of things to offer. But she was trying to market to everybody. And even when I asked her and I explained all this to her, I said, well, who can raw foods help the most? And she said, everybody needs to do this. And we went through like 2 or 3 coaching calls, and she was still stuck on that. And she, bless her heart, she was going for it. She was networking. She was putting out flyers. She did, she had 5 or 10 different marketing tactics, and she was working them. And she just came back to the call just dejected and tired and frustrated. And, she has a big heart, something that can really help people. And people weren't responding. And I said, well, what are people saying? What are they thinking? And she said, well, a lot of people think it's too expensive, or, that raw food tastes like cardboard, or it's just too much hassle to do the shopping. So those are some of those paradigms that I was talking about. And she, we talked about dancing with objections as well, but what she really needed to do was narrow it down. And finally, like, the light bulb went off, and I asked the same question again. Who has the biggest fear, challenge, problem that raw foods could help with? And she said, oh my God, I think like people recovering from cancer and they're afraid of a relapse. Or people with type 2 diabetes afraid of going to type 1 diabetes. And then all of a sudden, does that mean she can't help me because I want to be a better athlete? No. But what it did is it allowed her to target certain people, certain groups, nurses with that kind of specialty. And when you narrow down your target market, a powerful question to get to do outreach, to think about your marketing tactics is, who else has that target market but doesn't compete with me? Now all of a sudden, hold on, I gotta admit, Easter, River. Welcome, River. So the powerful question is, who else has my target market but doesn't compete with me? And the other powerful questions are, how can I make it as easy as possible for this target market to find me? And how can I get my message directly to these people? The most cost efficient way, the most time efficient way. So I'd love to hear some of your ideas. And just imagine that this is an exercise and you can go as narrow as possible. And you can change it anytime you want. Like, some people get really stuck with like this kind of commitment to a small group. If it doesn't work, you can change it. But getting it narrow, getting it defined demographically, psychographically, and geographically is really powerful. So either want to hear from you aha moments, ideas that have passed through your head. And remember, it's that quiet, intuitive voice that passes through your head quietly that's the one to listen to, not the fear voice that says, oh, that's not a good idea. So what are some of your thoughts, ideas, questions?
One thing that just actually happened to me is, and I'm not exactly sure how this all plays in, but it's almost like, I had a bit of, like your clients, a little bit of that tunnel vision kind of thing. And this is on the bookkeeping side of my business. I had a client who was here locally, and then within the last 5 months has decided California is not the place to live. They've moved out of the state, they've sold their house, and they've gone up to Idaho and reopened another business. And I thought, well, okay, that's good. I'm really happy for them. I hope they can survive and do what they need to do, blah, 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 blah. And about 2 weeks ago, I got a call and said, I'm here in Idaho, and I want you to be my bookkeeper.
Perfect.
And I just went, I can do that. I had no idea how I was going to. And I have been meditating and, doing everything I could possibly do. And then last week she called again and said, I need a new set of books by Monday because I got to put my payroll in. And I just was like, oh, dear God. And I was shocked because I spent an entire day learning how to, I know how to team view, but I did a dry run on my computer on how I could do the whole process. And I thought, okay, I only have an hour to do it in this little team viewer window. And I set myself up and I did it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, now I have a client in Idaho. So again, I'm just like, is that good or bad? I don't know if that's the client I want, but at any rate, I overcame my own hurdle of belief and changed my philosophy on what I could and couldn't do.
That is fantastic, and I really want to acknowledge you. One of my mentors uses the phrase "say yes and figure out how."
That's what I do.
You did that, and you did it amazingly, especially with technology. And so congratulations on that. And I think how that relates to our target market is sometimes people might be asking for X, and we're like, oh, I don't really do X. But if people keep asking for X, then say yes and figure out how.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
And that goes with, find out what people want and then offer it to them. That makes sales so much easier. So great job, Corinne. Thank you for sharing that.
I think that's a really great example because I've had a similar occurrence too, like in that some of the things that we don't do, we're actually really limiting ourselves, and perhaps unnecessarily. So with me, for example, because of my business location, I had not been marketing specifically to those in the vehicle graphic area because I don't have an ideal location. I don't have a bay that I can bring the vehicle in. And so I've excluded that from our marketing approach. However, I had a referral come to me for a business that is rebranding a whole fleet of vehicles, and they have a gigantic warehouse. And so we took on that job, but we're doing it at their location. And so now I'm rethinking that, obviously, and I want to be able now to market to businesses who have fleets where we can just go do it on site to them. And it's a great selling point because it makes it convenient for them because they're not spending the time and money to bring vehicles, drop them off, and switch it out. We're just going to go on site, and we can, if we need to spend a day there and do multiple vehicles in one fell swoop, we can certainly do that. But that particular account it may not be, fingers crossed, it's not going to be my largest single account of the year because I've got another really great prospect out there for something completely different. But I mean, if I had continued to say no to those things, I would have never taken that business on. And it's a fantastic
Absolutely.
account.
That is such a great example. And that's what you can get one client. I mean, it helps to get two or three to, one point doesn't make a line, but, it's just an example of you being creative. And then just the serendipity or the creativity that you did is using their warehouse. Now, all of a sudden in your marketing, you can offer convenience.
Mhm.
Instead of saying, oh, my location isn't conducive to this, the creative
Mhm.
solution actually becomes a unique selling proposition.
Right. Yeah. Actually, I picked up another account. It's not going to be as big in the short term, but it'll be a great source of recurring business for me. Same type of thing. It's a pool company, and they've got a very large warehouse, and we'll just go do it on site for them. So we've got some work in progress for them as well too.
Yeah, and I think that's another principle that's worth expanding upon. I coached an auto repair shop, and we were using this target market exercise. And of course, we thought of fleets like police, fire, big construction companies. So who in your business might have multiple clients or multiple service or product opportunities? Brett is marketing his new book to influencers in aerospace, because that's the people that could love this book and really get the word out. So influencers, whether it's helping get the word out or fleets or multiple customers. So that's a great example too.
Yeah, can I add, can you hear me, Jim?
Yeah, perfectly.
Yeah, going to the target market, what I've found, what I like to do is if I have my ideal customer in mind,
Diesel.
I think about where do they congregate? Where do they assemble themselves?
Thank you.
And it's often online places like forums or blog websites, which are run by influencers, right? But so my strategy often is to go to those owners, those hubs, and say, do it with a generous, pay it forward kind of attitude, but say, here's what I'm doing. Here's what I'm trying to learn about. Is there a way we can work together? And usually those people are looking for content, or looking for stories, things like that. So I try to make it a win-win for everybody, right? But
yeah,
then,
exactly. And I'll just share, if it's okay, you're offering a portion of the proceeds of the book to go to organizations like theirs. You're not promising them in particular. So I thought that was a great conversation we had. And to expand upon what you're talking about, that's a good example of, now you have your target market narrow and you have it defined demographically, psychographically, geographically. So then the next powerful question, the next place, and we're going to cover this in 2 weeks, we're going to talk about marketing copy and how to make that very effective. But then the following 2 weeks, we're going to talk about tactics. But it's really important to say, well, how can you use your target market, and talk about that today. So the question is, what do they read? Where do they go? What are their hobbies? Who do they hang out with? So those are all expansive questions on, who else has my target market but doesn't compete with me? Because that's great for joint venture referral relationships or power partners. But we want to think about, okay, if I'm going to be on somebody's podcast, it's not just anybody's podcast. Somebody might have a podcast for, childhood development. Would that be a good blog for me to talk about marketing? No, it would have to be, either another business coach or a marketing expert or somebody else. It doesn't mean that you can't take advantage of, say, free opportunities to be on the radio or local TV or be on somebody's podcast. I like doing that. 1, to get out of my comfort zone. 2, to just get random exposure. So you can do global things, but you just want to be aware that the cost, time, energy, money of global marketing isn't nearly as effective as highly targeted marketing. So thank you, Brett, for bringing that up. That's really important.
Jim, could I just add one other thing too, and kind of made me think of Stacy and your situation, and when you were talking, Jim, about looking at fleet services, whether it's police or whatever. One of the sort of selling aspects, and this is something that I too found out last week, is the client feels pretty safe and secure in a world where we don't feel safe and secure when you say, hey, I'm going to have to use your bay in your automotive center, or I'm going to take myself to your office rather than bringing whatever it is to your location. There's a safety factor in there where people feel like they've got a little more control over it. That just sort of popped up for me when Stacy was mentioning having to do the work at her client's location. I think that's actually a good selling point.
Yeah, that is so fantastic. And that goes to the marketing copy, goes to a couple of key points. One is, well, we talked about test marketing and what's going on in the minds of your clients right now. The things that people are looking for from a deep psychological perspective are a lot different than they were 3-4 months ago. So comfort, safety, control, stability, those are all key neurolinguistic programming nugget words that we can use in our marketing these days. And flexing, the people that flex with the times, I'm not recommending this, but there were people that were, the day after quarantine, people were selling toilet paper on eBay. It's like, wow, how do they move so fast? So, but the point is really for us to be flexible, and we don't have to follow short-term trends. But when things become deep and emotional, and it's a significant change, whether it's positive or negative, we can ride that wave.